for another episode of the Platform Podcast. So today, it's episode number 5.
Episode 5, and we have a guest. Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop.
Mr. Jayden Asham.
The infamous Jayden Asham.
How's it going today, gentlemen?
Good.
We're excited to have you on. We know you've got a lot to say, so yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So I guess to start, a little bit about how you got into skateboarding. Just start with that, I guess. Just whatever.
How did I get into skateboarding? Well, that's a long tale, and I suppose we have a long time to tell it, eh?
Yep.
It was always like I was always so interested in extreme stuff, right? Like ever since I can remember, I was running into walls just for the joy of running into walls, right? You know, what corner am I going to miss today? But I think what really sparked the skateboarding aspect of skateboarding for me was, I would have been like 9-10 years old or something, and I got a snowboard for Christmas. And I remember going down the dump hill with my cousins and my dad and my family or whatever. Just all day we were riding. I didn't really have any idea how to use my board. And it was like the last run of the day. And my dad took the camera out. He's like, all right, give her one more time down the hill. So away I went down the hill, and I went to just do like a simple pivot, but my boots were too big for me, eh? Ended up snapping my leg right there. I just screaming. Oh. Yeah, it was not a fun time.
Always that one last run, eh?
It always is, like, absolutely.
Always that. If you just that one last run, that's the one that gets you.
It's the make or breaking moment, right? And but I remember just being hung up at school. Like I wasn't able to do recess for months, and because it was like a fairly bad break. And I remember sitting in the library just looking at skateboard magazines. And I was living in Winnipeg at this time with my mom, so I remember we had a really sweet library there, and like I remember sitting in there for lots of months and lots of missed recesses. And I remember seeing like Danny McCaskill or something, or not McCaskill, sorry, what's his name? That's a heartbreaker.
Danny Way?
No. Danny spins a lot on vert, we'll call him. And I remember seeing that, and I just remember like just seeing like the sweat on his face and like that look of intensity in his eyes. I was like, oh man, that's what I want to do, you know, like at least if I'm on a skateboard, I can jump off it, you know, not strapped on, twisting away down the hill.
Yeah, I feel that.
But I think, yeah, it was as soon as I got that first cast off, I remember having like a little tiny like banana board, just a little one, and just like going and riding down my driveway and slipping and sliding all over the place. Just it was like it's like, I don't know, it's almost like right out of a book of every skateboarder's like starting, right? It's like that first taste of the first taste on the pain train, and either you don't like it or you really like it,
right?
And then from that point on, I remember coming to Portage, and my buddy Arthur, we were just, you know, attached at the hip growing up, and I had the skateboard, and he was like, oh man, I want a skateboard too, that's awesome. So then that was pretty much it. It was 8 hours every day on the road when I was with him, and it was eight hours on the road every day by myself afterwards.
Wow.
So yeah, that's pretty much how it started. It was years and years and years ago.
So how did you get your first board?
My first, I honestly, it was probably just, I think it was one of those ones that used to come off the t-shirts at Walmart, you know? And like I was 4 foot nothing until high school. So those things worked pretty well for me. And,
I remember back when you were pretty young. I don't know how old you would have been, but you were coming to Portage. And I remember thinking like that board is almost as tall as him.
I remember when I got my first like Walmart board, man. And it wasn't even like, it was actually, I won it at a curling bonspiel, with a family curling bonspiel. I remember being so stoked on this board. I was just like, oh, curling's awesome. You can win skateboards and stuff. Neat. What an extreme sport in itself. And then it was like this almost like a Zeller's deck, because it was kind of a little bit better than like the Wally World ones, but it was still pretty bogus. But I remember just being so excited to have a proper looking skateboard.
Mm.
And then I remember the first time I got a real board was a platform deck. I went down to Steve's shop, and I remember having these little tiny trucks, and we had to like drill holes to make the trucks fit. Hey,
That's right. I remember that too. Yeah, there was a few dudes that came in with their Wally trucks, and we'd have to drill new holes in our deck so that the trucks would fit.
yeah, no, it was, and then and then every board forever after that until I moved up north was platform decks. It was
Mm.
always the platform.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you started in Portage, is what you're saying, or
It
were
was.
you?
It would have been the first glimpse was Portage for sure.
Okay.
Right. Like when I was with my mom, it was more or less just it was like I was when I was going to school in Winnipeg, right?
Okay.
Then I had my cast, and then it was more I was skateboarding when I was out here, lots and lots and lots. But in Winnipeg too, it was I don't know. It's a long way back, and a lot of foggy memories.
So you were skating with Arthur before you moved up north.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Way, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, the skateboarding. Yeah, I guess it would have been bread and portage for skateboarding for sure.
Okay.
But it was just that first introduction, that first ride, those first times lifting and doing a kick turn, those first knee scrapes and elbow bruises. That all was here.
And so after Portage, then you moved up north from Portage?
No, I lived with my mom and grandma, kind of like off and on, like
Right.
kind of shared custody like that. And then my dad had gotten a job up north when I was going into grade 5, I want to say.
Oh.
So earlier than that, man. So he moved up there, and then I started spending summers up north. Right, I would go up and I would spend summers up north with my dad.
Right.
And then eventually I just decided never to come back south. Right, I stayed up north, and then and that's when skateboarding really kind of excelled for because it was that's all I was doing was skate.
Right.
Skate.
So when you moved up there, then they already had the skate park there?
No, actually, for the first year and a half, 2 years of knowing about Thompson and being up there, was nothing but DIY spots and just skate spots. And
okay.
Then it was a little bit later that we got that park. I remember that feeling of joy, hearing that we were going to get. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And it's like, it's the same feeling that I get now thinking about the park coming to Portage, and for my siblings being able to share that same feeling of joy. Like, oh man, we're getting this. Like this is a staple, right? Like I'm so stoked on it.
Nice. So, talk a little bit about the scene in Thompson.
Gnarly is one. They're gnarly, man. They're some of the like Justin Golding. Like I think every person needs to type that dude's name into YouTube and just see the raw talent that comes out of Thompson, man. Like it's one of those situations where it's like isolation is because you're up there, man. You're in the hub of the north, right? If you run too far in the bush, you're getting hugged by a big bear. So like it's just you have a focus up there, man. Like it was either hockey or skateboarding, and skateboarding was the draw. Then like it's so hard. Like it's such a fun thing to think about, is thinking back up to those northern days, man. Such a key part of my life. The dudes up there were crazy, and it's you see it in every scene, is like they all share similarities, right? Like you get the one dude that has his hands hanging down and just the steeziest tricks, and he's just the bubbly dude. You get those little shredders like myself, and a couple, like this little DJ kid was like 9 years old, throwing himself down like stair sets, landed on his face and laughing about it. Like, wow, you're crazy, man. Yeah, I love this. Yeah, and it sucked coming to Portage, because the scene had completely shifted from, like, I remember being a young kid in Portage La Prairie, and we had such a dope little scene, man. Like like it was a community scene, like everyone was friends, and like we were little kids, like myself and Arthur and Brady, like we were just these little tiny dudes, And like these guys were taking us in like sure they as much as any like teenage kid would be hanging around an 8-year-old kid. I can only imagine how annoying we got for those guys, but they were so amazing to us. Like thinking back to it now, because like I can't even like I'm not a very patient guy myself, and like I was like, oh yeah, wow, those dudes, because that really shaped my my way of thinking about young kids skateboarding now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have had some lulls in the scene here in Portage for sure. Yeah, and we've had some really good times. So what's some of the what would be some of the craziest skateboarding you would have seen in Thompson?
When Red Riding Media came up to Thompson one time, and they brought some of those dudes with them. That's just, yeah, that's some of the craziest I've ever seen. But that's like the Brendan Sanderson dudes and those kind of guys come up that are just the bread to shred, right?
Yeah.
And but definitely Justin. You got like Keith Fayont. He used to actually run the skate shop in Thompson, Foobs. And he was a gnarly guy. There was their older scene, right? Like those guys are in their 30s now, I think, but like still lay it down, like still just ridiculously good. And yeah, there was some really, really talented kids up there, man.
What did you say the shop was called?
Foobs.
Foobs.
F-U-B-S. Foobs. We weren't very good spellers up north, eh? So yeah, no, those guys were nuts. And then again, like just the friendly, compassionate dudes towards the little shredders, like it was, just don't, like scooters and bikes. There was a big rivalry up there with those. It was more or less just little kid stuff though. Yeah,
but that's one of the things we've talked about in the past here is this idea that the skateboard community is so great at being inclusive of like you can have some old dudes and some young dudes. If everyone's like trying their hardest, that's all they're looking for, right? If you're giving it there, then you get some mad respect.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, like I don't think there's anything I love seeing more, and this is going to sound awful, but seeing a little dude go and just throw himself and hurt himself and get back up, and you see him like buckling through that pain because the old dudes are there. And I remember just how embarrassing it would be to like hurt yourself and like have to walk home, eh? So I love seeing that in the little dudes in Portage, and I try my best to instill that in the little dudes in Portage, right? It's like you want to skate, and you want to be good at skating, you're gonna get hurt. And I'm a prime example of that. It's I've been hurt more than I've been healthy. So
yeah. So when would you have come down from the north end and kind of been reestablished here?
I came down my year before. No, I guess summer before high school. So summer before grade 9. So I would have been. I don't even know how many years ago now. That's some time ago now too.
Would have been like 13, 14.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, whatever age that is. Yeah, that's great.
So you would have been on some of our trips before that then.
Oh yeah, like one of my absolute favorite memories of my whole entire life was our I guess what is 2012. We went on our Calgary or our Western Canada skate trip there. And, like I was a kid that didn't experience much, right? Like I was, the flat roads what taught me how to skateboard. And I remember just being able to see the broad spectrum of amazing skaters everywhere else around Canada. Like that I've seen gnarly skaters, but then you get to some of those parks and those huge bowls and those dudes that are just, getting 6-7 feet of air.
Yeah.
Wow, what?
People that are actually using the bowls.
Yeah. You got to be pro, right? You're not just dropping in. That's crazy.
So the interesting thing is, like, if we look back at the trips, I at that time, I had already done a lot of trips with different dudes, but typically it was all high school kids. And then all of a sudden this year, we brought along these two little skate rats.
Skate rats is a very good way
Jayden
to
and
put that
Arthur.
too.
Yeah, and it was like, but you were ripping and you wanted to be on this trip, and so we're like, yeah, okay, we'll bring you along. And I tell you, I was not prepared to have kids on that trip. I was used to high school guys and kind of like, you know, guys like kind of all the same age, and it kind of worked. And all of a sudden we got these two young guys that that like are happy to be out there and skating and stuff. But then there's the other side of it where it's like, dudes, you got to shower. And yeah, the van got pretty stinky that year, man.
Oh man. Yeah, that's one lesson I still got to teach myself is that showering thing. That's a struggle of mine. Scared of water, eh?
I was sure grateful for having Clint on that trip, because that dude, he just like took you guys under his arm, and he was so good at on days where I just had enough of babysitting little kids. He just like took over and gave me a break and kept us all sane.
Yeah, no kidding. No, Clint is one of the biggest blessings in my life. Like that guy, when I'd come to Portage, he would literally pick me up, like he would call me to go and skate, you know. And like when you're a little dude, and like Clint was a thrasher. Like Clint was nuts, and he was so good and such a great-hearted dude. Yeah, I miss Clint. I'm talking about Clint like Clint's dead. He just moved away. Yeah. But yeah, no, Clint was I lots of Charlie horses though. I remember every time I acted up, I got a pretty good one to the leg.
You deserved all of them, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, there was a couple there where it would be Arthur stirring the pot. I'd be half asleep, and you'd go and pull Clint in the ear, and I'd catch one and wake me up.
Nice. Nice. The other thing I remember about that trip was, so we were camping every night, and for some reason, when I'd like kind of clean up the campsite at the like when we're packing up in the morning, there were socks left on the campsite. Like I'm going around checking, see if we're forgetting anything, and there's always socks. And I'm always like, okay, whose socks are these? And nobody would claim them. And it was like every night. And so I'm like, somebody is going to be completely out of socks by the end of this trip because we're losing socks every day. Because nobody would claim them, so I just toss them. I'm like, if nobody's claiming these dirty, skated in all day socks, I'm not holding on to them. But I was like, who in the world is not claiming their socks and like just leaving them lying on the campsite every night?
Who was it?
I have no idea. I was hoping you'd be able to fill us in.
You would know if they were my socks because they wouldn't be able to fit over your hand. I got little tiny feet, man. Not me.
They would have smelled real bad, probably. Right?
Oh, they would have smelled real bad. Yeah, you would have known if they were mine right away. Short and smelly.
They did smell real bad. But
maybe it was.
There's a possibility.
There was more than one culprit with that issue on that trip.
I'm very happy that I got to deal with that at a young age, where smell doesn't seem to exist. You know, you're like between the ages of like 10 and 17, you're just like, is it really that bad? It's like I probably could smell worse.
And like with all the years of trips that I've done, there have been some doozies. Like one year we had a guy come on our trip that wore the same pants all week, and he went commando all week as well. Oh. So, and that year it was like 35 degrees every day. And he just decided at the beginning, I'm just going to wear these pants all week. I'm not changing. And by the end of the week, those things, man, they were so nasty.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Oh, I could imagine. You probably just take them off and stand them up outside the door, eh? That's what for the night.
That's what we were saying, that when we'd stop for night, he probably just stood them up in the corner.
Surprising they come out crusted to the leg hairs. Yeah, it's fun skating with in the heat.
Yeah, it was
Speaking of,
quite something, but it makes for good stories now.
oh, yeah, absolutely. If there's one thing that their poor hygiene and disgusting things makes for is a good story. So I've learned that over experience and time.
So
Yeah, I
another fun thing I want to talk to you about is focusing boards. How many boards have you focused?
oh man, way more than I'd care to admit. I had a terrible, 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 terrible temper growing up,
Mm.
and yeah, unfortunately, the plywood got a fair bit of the anger.
So let me
Um,
change the question. What is the craziest way you've focused a board?
oh, Steve, I think I have a video of me doing it over my head.
I was gonna say I probably remember that. So
yeah, I think the head one because I don't think I got to skate for a couple days after that. I don't know. I think the better question is how many boards did the platform see me buy?
That's a good question.
Mm.
Your support of that shop was definitely helpful.
yeah, thank grandma. Eh?
Yeah, yeah. Grandma came in quite often just to keep you rolling, to keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's literally what it was. Eh? It
Mm.
was better on the board.
Wow.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss that old shop there, Steve.
Yeah, a lot of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like partly like with the little dudes like you hanging out in that shop, which is what led to you being able to go on those trips and stuff, is because you were like the regular skate rat that just like was around all the time, coming in, getting stoked on skateboarding, and always fired up to be skateboarding. How could we not take you on a trip then, right?
Yeah, you would have broke my little heart, that's for sure. I don't think I was even prepared for what experiences that had led to. Like the amount, like I remember just like the bond that I got from like with you and Kevin and Arthur, Clint, and all the boys on that trip Sega. And man, it was just like you just like that sense of belonging, and that's what I feel is such a beautiful thing about skateboarding is
Mm-hmm.
no matter who you are, what you've done, where you've been, what you've seen, you've got always got a spot in the skate scene. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's just the true beauty of skateboarding is the sense of community and camaraderie, and that lays within it. It's just if you skate and like you go and meet another, sure, there's a couple poor attitudes in the melting pot, but that's in anything, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, love skateboarding. Miss skateboarding. Wish this virus would bugger off so I could stop playing with my tech decks.
So speaking of that, what you were just commenting about, it's interesting to think that like so often you have guys that are kind of like, I don't know how you could describe maybe like dabbling in skateboarding in high school, because high school is really where skateboarding takes off for most dudes, right?
Mm.
Like once
Yeah,
you
it
hit
is.
high school, like you connect with guys at school, and then you end up going skating, and you're making plans all the time at school, and so high school is, in my opinion, where it really gets serious for guys. Um, and then what happens then is you get the dabblers that are really into it in high school, but then kind of once that season of life is over, or maybe even like once they get a car, I see that in some dudes, they get a car and then it's like now they're into cars, not into skateboarding. Whereas the other guys, they get a car and now it means that they can travel to skateboard,
Yeah.
right? Like Raleigh talks about that in the first episode where, you know, once he had a car, now it was on. Now he could go to spots. He wasn't stuck in Oakville, right?
Yeah, well, I remember listening to that, and that is a huge thing. And like there was in Oakville, especially, man, like that was all bikers. Like there was
Yeah.
and some pretty gnarly bikers came out of Oakville,
Yeah, for
mind you.
sure.
There were some pretty sick BMXers. But Yeah, Oakville was a pretty bogus little town for anything besides farm dudes.
Yep, that's for
Um,
sure.
But what I was trying to say is that like you're one of those dudes that like stuck it stuck it out and like wasn't, like here we are, you're done high school, you've moved on, and skateboarding is still such a major part of your life.
oh man, like skateboarding has always been my crutch in life. Like it was it brought me out of every every dark part of my life. It's always been a necessity to have my board. You know what I
Mm.
mean? If I ever have a bad day or a bad hour, like I always can go back and hop on and throw a couple of tricks around and just release, right? That release. And it's the greatest drug that there is like having that release is nuts. Like I don't know what I would do without skateboarding, right? And like right now is prime example is like this lockdown has affected everyone so much, and winter is depressing enough as it is, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
no doubt.
and then yeah, like it definitely makes you think back and makes me wish I didn't take all those warm summer days for granted now, and all
Mhm.
those missed YFC sessions. It's like, but hopefully soon when these restrictions are open, we can go and
Yeah, for
fly
sure.
Yeah.
around and actually enjoy ourselves, huh?
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate your recognition of what skateboarding does mentally for you, right? Like just I've always believed that activities like skateboarding, probably most physical activities would fit into that role, but I think skateboarding, for a lot of people, it's really helped them in their mental health, and like you said, you're feeling it now because you can't do it, but it's one way to appreciate how much it has done, right? When you,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Like
just
it's
looking back.
It's
yeah.
so.
For like
Oh, go ahead.
I'm trying to try. That's the hard part about the Zoom call thing, right?
Mm.
Especially with skateboarding is like I like just getting sober and everything. That was a
Mm.
huge hand in that,
Mm.
right? It was that distraction
Mm.
factor. Whether it was
Mm.
like any time I would have a craving or any sort of anything, I had that skateboarding. I
Mm.
also had amazing supports from friends and family throughout that whole entire time.
Right.
Like skateboarding, that's my biggest contribution. That's where I tone it down to is I wouldn't have been able to do that without my board, because
Right.
like it's
Isn't
yeah
isn't
that
it
was
so interesting how like it's like helping with staying sober and mental health and stuff, but it's just a piece of wood that we just roll
well,
around on. It
it's,
just blows my mind. Like,
it's so much more than that, right?
well, I
It's
know, but it just like that's all it like looks
literally it
like.
is. Yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
just like what you'll go out by yourself. Like I understand there's the community and everything, but sometimes you just go out by yourself and it just like makes everything feel so much better. But it's just
Oh, it's
yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
It's
It's
even just holding that wood, man. It's even just
mm-hmm.
grabbing your board in the morning, man, before you
Yeah.
go out, feeling that grip tape sting your grip finger. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a rush, man. Yeah, very thankful that I picked that up.
Mm.
Very thankful I found a talent, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So talk to me about the like you kind of mentioned it earlier about the young guys that are coming up and what you're trying to instill in them. Let's talk about that a little bit more because Raleigh and I both see that like when you're hanging out at the indoor park and even at when we're like at different skate parks, how you like take those young kids and encourage them and push them and stuff. And it's it's always such a awesome thing to watch. So talk about what like what's going on for you when you're doing that.
I think back again, I put myself in those kids' shoes. I put myself in like like when you can set yourself back to your 9-year-old mindset, and you can remember the feeling of watching one of those dudes just throw something that you would never even fathom, right? And it's like,
Mm.
what? Like, how did you do that? I want to do that. And then you're going up after one of these dudes, and you're just starting, you're learning, you're just riding, you're just facing those first fears that skateboarding presents, right?
Hmm.
And I just remember how amazing it felt when those old dudes would be like, show any sort of like uh I don't know, man, like I just remember how amazing it felt when those dudes would razz you up, and they'd get just as stoked as you were to watch them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was one of my biggest drives in skateboarding was the showmanship of skateboarding, because that's what skateboarding is, man. You're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it to show off too. Like it feels amazing being able to go and like blow someone's mind, man. Because like some people you can ollie in front of, they're like, "What? You got glue on your toes?" It's like, physics, man. I'm a mathematician. No.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when you say that, I think of when I've taken dudes overseas to do skate demos in schools in countries where skateboarding isn't really a big thing, and you got some of these guys that are doing these crazy tricks, and yet the biggest cheers they get is when you just have them ollie over top of boards and seeing how high you can stack boards and have them ollie. And that's the most exciting thing for those kids.
Yeah, that's all you got to get good at is ollieing, eh? I'm just gonna go start touring around in
Yeah.
the other countries. You become
Yeah.
a big ollieing sensation.
Yeah. Ollie 6 or 7 boards and you're good to go.
I can almost ollie over myself at that point. Yeah, but man, like there's a couple of those little dudes that come to skate at the Youth for Christ that just like, they just send it, man. They just absolutely send it, and I love it. And there was actually one kid that started coming at the end of the year there. I hadn't really seen him before, but like just throwing board slides, and like just like he would like ride up to me and you're like, "Oh, what's this guy about to do?" And just do a big long board slide, and like, it's like, what? I've never seen you before, and you're good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I get really stoked on the young scene, mostly because I don't want to see skateboarding die in Portage.
Right.
Like I really like, and slowly. I don't mean to sound like I don't like these kids or anything, but like you see, like, so you were seeing such an influx in scooter riders and everything like that, and like growing up as a little kid, man, you weren't supposed to be a scooter rider, right? Like in Thompson, there was like a few of the brave kids that would come with their scooter to the park, eh? And like we felt like there was some rude to those kids, man. Like back in that, like that's when I can see the stigma of skateboarders is because of that. But like that's completely backwards now. It's like scooters are cooler than the skaters, man. It's like, what's going on here? I as soon as it happened, that's why I got my siblings skateboards. I was just like, all right, here, no handles, 4 wheels, let's roll.
Yeah.
I seen the video of that on I think Steve sent it to me or something, and they look pretty pumped.
Oh man, it's been like 5 years they've been asking me to get skateboards.
Oh wow.
And then it's like I was so happy to be able to do that, man. Like and the worst part is I got made right away. I haven't got these kids presents in years. I walk in with 2 boards that are the size of them, or 2 boxes of the size of them. We're like, you got a skateboards. It took like 3 hours of groundwork convincing these kids that they weren't getting skateboards. I like sat them both down and was like, listen, I don't want to see you super disappointed in the morning when there's no skateboards in there. So I was like, I can't do it this year. It's not a feasible thing for me. I was like, listen, it wouldn't even make sense. It wouldn't even make sense for me to get you boards. It's winter. There's snow. What are you going to do with the board, right? So yeah, they were kind of half convinced. I think they kind of knew I was a bit full of it, but yeah, the excitement was still there. They were still stoked. So I'm just so stoked to be able to, and like, it's gonna be a nice thing that we're gonna be able to share together. I'm gonna have that with my siblings, right? It's like, yeah, obviously my parents are gonna be unloading the kids off on me now. Eh? It's like, hey, I want these kids breaking as many legs as you did.
No, that's awesome. And that's one of the things, I guess, why I brought that up is because I see your excitement for the young kids so much. And sometimes to the point where it's like, what the heck is he doing? Like the one time where you were trying desperately to get this kid to drop into the bank, to roll down the bank, and he was just stressing and you're like started promising him stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like in the end, you ended up buying him a deck just to roll down the bank, which was insane. But you just get so excited about kids learning and kids progressing that you just start throwing stuff at them, which is funny.
I see a lot of myself in a lot of those kids, right? Like I see a lot of like the hardships that come with those things, and like it just feels. I love seeing kids realize that they can do things, man. I love seeing kids face their fears and realizing that it's not as scary as it's going to be, and it doesn't hurt as bad as you think it's going to hurt. Sure, it sucks. Twisting an ankle sucks, but it only sucks for a week or two, man. And then you can get back on with a strong ankle and still pop around. Like it's such a sense of achievement, and you see it. And when you see that in those kids, it's an amazing feeling just to even be able to share that with them. It's awesome, man. And it's always been one of my favorite things to do is helping teach those kids to skate. Because ultimately it's going to lead to the progression of skateboarding, right? Because skateboarding is a terrifying idea to look at. It's terrifying for parents to look at, and it's terrifying for those kids to first hop on that board and start their first push. And if you have someone there to hype you up and tell you how to do it, give you some pointers and give you aspiration or a little bit of instillment for it, it's going to be, it ultimately could make the next amazing skater to come out of this town, right? Like it's giving them that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that because I just stoked on the way that you encourage the young dudes. That's awesome. What about favorite spots?
In Portage La Prairie, Manitoba?
Let's open it up, whatever. Yeah.
Oh. I think some of the most transforming spots for me growing up were this library spot in Thompson, man. It was haggard out, man. Like it was haggard. But you had to give her, right? Like you had to give her. Either you're gonna hurt yourself or land your trick. And it was such a like revolutionary thing for me, was because you had to force yourself, because it looked terrifying. There was cracks in the run up, right? Like there were like whole width cracks right before where you had to pop. So that was one of my favorite ones. And it was like a 1.5 foot drop, and that was about it. And I thrashed that for hours. Another one would be MNP, like going up. Like that was because like like the receptionist would come out and you got to pretend to be a little thug for a minute, give her some lip, and then walk off before the police came to get you. But that was such a huge one for us too. And like that little 3 sets that has seen some of the best tricks in my arsenal go down it. And at that time, that was huge at that time. Like I was like, I remember when that little ledge and that first came to Portage, and how excited we were seeing the construction of that. Because we're like, there are stairs, there's a ledge, there's a mani pad, there is something there. There is, there's hope.
We actually are getting a actual legit street spot in Portage. Yeah, that's what everyone was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Husky was another huge staple for Portage anyways. Like like that was like being a little kid and like going and watching Rhett and those guys go skate Husky, and it's one day I'm gonna fly down there too.
Yeah Nice.
I didn't really do much exploration of skateboarding. Like I was a small town skater my whole entire life. I've always been. When I lived in Winnipeg, it was in my front yard, man. I didn't go to the skate parks. I was too young for that. So yeah. Yeah, and like 2 towns that had nothing. 2 towns that were just barren wastelands of. So, yeah.
So, when are you hitting the provincial building rail?
No, I don't know if you guys heard, but I already did it. I thought you guys had known about that.
Where's the footage?
I went by myself one day.
Did it for fun. Yeah.
No, man. I think that's dead. Looking at it, walking past it, it's one of those things where like, yeah, I could do that. And then you walk up the stairs, you're like, yeah, maybe next year, And then next year comes,
I agree with you. I agree. Like you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's so doable, right? Like you go stand there, it's doable. But if you actually grab your board and like think about, okay, it's so scary.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I'm thinking about it with the snow skate though, man.
Okay.
Because that is ideal snow skating territory right there. Like those double rails, how nice and wide they are.
Right.
It'd just be more or less building a little tiny kicker to help get up there because it's hard getting some airtime on those slidey things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're hard to pop
get
too.
Somebody to slingshot you in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you got a bungee still?
No.
No. They don't make them anymore, right?
Nope.
Yeah. Make my own. Yeah. What about you guys? You guys doing any sort of extreme snow sports this year?
I've snow skated a couple times just at the dump hill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just.
I went out with Drew Anderson to the dump hill there. He was snowboarding. I was just snow skating or whatever. But man, we were looking around and there's some like pretty sweet little spots that we could come up with out there.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Some pretty cool little ideas we were thinking of. But yeah, definitely missing everything, man. This I feel like a criminal going out of my house is the worst part about it, right? It's like I just want to go ride down your stairs and like you feel awful being there, right? Like, God, am I gonna get a slap on the wrist or what's gonna happen here? So
yeah, for sure. We are all looking forward to the days when we can skate again. It's gonna be good.
Yes, and hopefully soon.
Yes.
Before we finish up here, talk about what your ideal setup looks like.
My ideal skate setup?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is we're gonna start it right at the blacktop here. We're gonna go Grizzly grip because Tory Puds is just Tory Puds, and you gotta love the boy. And
so are you saying it's the marketing more than the feel of the grip? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm
okay.
Yeah, I don't. It's especially with that kind of stuff. Is I am so illiterate when it comes to skateboarding stuff. Like when it comes to tire wheel size and everything. Like, man, just put wheels on my board. Give me something to keep them on there, right? But I don't know, man. I've always loved Grizzly. I've loved the look of Grizzly. I love the team Grizzly. And I've always just been diehard Tory. So on the bottom, I've always probably go DGK or Real. I love those boards just from growing up with it, right? And then trucks, Thunders or Indies. Pretty generic on that. Wheels, whatever's cheapest and whatever's harder. And bearings, whatever color's red, man. And that's pretty generic. When it comes to skateboarding, man, it's if my board can get me off the ground and can get me down a hill or from A to B, I love it. It's just pretty simple when it comes to that. I remember the platform didn't have grip tape for a solid week or two, and I got a new board and I skated that thing without grip for. I think I might have even broken that board before grip got on that board.
What are your thoughts on grip art?
It depends, man. Like there's some pretty like Curtis, man. Curtis is pretty freaking sweet at what he does, man. Like I think that's pretty cool. I I think it's a touchy subject and I don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Why do you think I brought it up?
I can't stand clear grip. I can't stand neon grip.
Too distracting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's,
I feel that.
Yeah, it's a big throw off, and it's hard on the eyes, man. You know, like skateboarding has got a very flashy feel to it now. You go to a skate park, like, where am I? Is it Mardi Gras? What's going on over here?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So any last thoughts or comments as we wrap this up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say how stoked I am for you guys and in pursuing this, and like it's so nice to see some stuff like this come out of Portage, man. Like people look at Portage and it's so much negativity comes with that, and then especially with skateboarding, right? Lots of negativity comes with skateboarding, but like I think you guys are the two best faces that we could have to represent our movement of thrashers here, and I'm so stoked to see what the future has in store for this podcast and for this community. And I can't wait to shred, man. So
yeah,
wear your masks and stay inside, and let's get skating.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I like it.
Dude, I
awesome.
like it too.
And yeah, we appreciate the kind words, but we also want to thank you. Just so people know, we appreciate you being one of our patrons and supporting the podcast, not only with your kind words, but throwing some money behind that. And that helps keep things rolling. And we appreciate that you're part of the team.
Oh man, I'm just so happy to be a part of it, boys. I'm just so excited. I'm just happy, man.
Awesome.
Good. Well, that's episode 5.
Oh, that's 10. That's 5.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a wrap.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Jayden.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys.